All right, welcome everybody. My name is Jesse Sims and I'm the chair of Tech Talk. And thank you for taking time out of your morning to hop in for this presentation. I'm really excited about. We have Sam Mears here. Sam is originally from Toledo, Ohio, where she graduated from Bowling Green State University with a degree in journalism, specializing in public relations and marketing. Her various work for nonprofit organizations led her to Phoenix in 2012. And she is currently the communications administrator for Maricopa County Library District, where she plans, develops, and evaluates all facets of MCLD's communications. Prior to her position at the Library District, she was the director of marketing for Child's Play Theater. And Sam currently lives in Tempe with her husband, 4-month-old son, and their dog Patch. So I'm going to turn it over to Sam, and thank you for being with us here today.
Yes, hi everyone. Okay, I'm going to take over and share my screen and start my presentation. So there might be a moment that you see my Canva screen before I push present, but okay. All righty. Hopefully everyone is seeing my screen.
Yes.
All right, great. Thank you, Jesse, for that lovely announcement or introduction. Hi, everyone. I'm Sam. Jesse asked me here today to talk a little bit about the summer reading ad pool plan that we implemented this summer, as well as just kind of talking a bit about the social media element of that. And then I also want to talk about some of the other digital marketing elements. As Jesse briefly mentioned, my name is Sam. I have a background in mainly the nonprofit marketing. I've been doing PR and marketing for about 12 years. And prior to MCLD, which I'm going on my second year with MCLD, I was working at Child's Play Theater for the last 8 years, I believe. So that was a background in family and education marketing. That's mainly what we do there. So with some elements of fundraising. So that did lend itself well, that experience, into creating plans for summer reading. Since we are, looking for parents and children's to sign up for those, for that program. So it felt like it was a good fit when I started working at MCLD and started working on summer reading stuff. So just to give a little background of the ad pool. When I started, I sat down with actually, I shouldn't say when I started, I should say when we first started working on my first summer reading program, I sat down with the team here that works on summer reading, and they kind of talked about how things have been going and what some of their kind of dreams had been for the program. One of those was, as always, we want to provide additional marketing support to libraries and be able to provide as much support as we can. There was also a dream of creating something like an ad pool so that we could streamline one branded message throughout the entire county. There's a lot of overlapping marketing efforts that happen with SRP. So, I should say also, we call it SRP at Maricopa County Library District. Hopefully everyone else does. But when I say SRP, I mean Summer Reading Program. I know we use a lot of acronyms, so just wanting to make sure everyone knows what I'm talking about there. So we wanted to hopefully find a way to maybe reduce time and money spent on overlapping efforts. And so we kind of came up with this ad pool idea. And we wanted to offer it, obviously, as an optional opportunity, not something that everyone has to buy into, but just another way in which we could support your library system. So, we had never done this before. So I kind of sat down, took from my past experience of the numerous advertising campaigns I've worked on in the Valley, and thought, okay, how can we make something work? Let's create a plan of something that not only we can manage from a higher level, but also that we can track and be able to kind of show results for. And so all of that ended up being digital marketing. versus, doing some print advertising and stuff like that. So what we came up with is that participating libraries would invest into paid advertising tactics geared at increasing participation. All of the investment would go directly into advertising. There would be no additional funds needed for graphic design or for campaign management. That would be all handled by the MCLD team. They would have access to a dedicated marketing staff. I know that is unique to MCLD. We are very lucky that we have a dedicated communication staff for all of our libraries. And then, of course, to be able to provide final reports of investments and results so we can all see how they go. Before I jump too far into what the ad pool looked like and the results, I do want to say that, we were coming up with this from scratch. I believe very strongly in looking at data, tracking results, trying things, seeing what works, and then making shifts. So some things worked really great for the ad pool. And as you will see, some things I'm going to shift into next year's ad pool so that we can keep making it better. So the only thing I know is that you always need to be learning and shifting is what I will say. Okay, so the background of what we came up with for the investment levels. We had 3 different levels of investment. The smallest was $1,500. You'd get Facebook ads for May, June, and July, and you would get a Raising Arizona Kids email. In case you aren't familiar with Raising Arizona Kids, that is a very popular magazine that moved to all digital in the pandemic. They are going to be moving back to print in 2022. But that is an email that is sent out, that you pay for, that is sent out on behalf of Raising Arizona Kids with whatever content you sponsor in that. The level 2 investment at $2,250 is all of the level 1 benefits, plus you receive behavioral and whitelist digital advertisements. So the difference between those 2 digital ads is the behavioral is the display ads that you really can kind of see anywhere on the internet. And then the whitelists only show up on news sites. So those are a specific different kind of ad. You target them very similarly. And then level 3 investment is level 1 and level 2, but you also invested into a search keyword campaign. So that is if you type in books, the sponsored content that shows up at the top of Google. And level 3 also included peach jar flyers sent out to 10 schools in May and 10 schools in July. Also, for those of you who aren't familiar with peach jar, those are what I like to call are the new backpack flyers. A lot of school districts have moved to digital flyers. And that is what that system allows you to do, is to send flyers to parents at different schools. And you'll see that quite a few of these have stars on them. Those are all investments that MCLD actually matched or exceeded as part of the campaign. So it really was a pool of money going together to allow these campaigns to move forward. So for 2021 participation, we had 3 systems participate, 2 at the level 2 investment and 1 at the level 3 investment. And again, I'm going to go back to the idea of plan ahead, but also plan to make changes. So this is what we originally planned out for our social plan for the ad pool. We broke the budget into different campaign segments, basically May, June, and July. We created target audiences. I basically broke it out into the idea of kind of re-engagement or renewal group versus an acquisition group. So the renewal kind of re-engagement group are the people who know you already, they like your page, they're friends with people who like your page. The acquisition group is just creating an audience of parents ages 25 to 60 living in the city of the library system that was participating, plus a 10 to 15 mile radius, depending on the numbers. And we had the same advertising objective. Facebook does, if you haven't done a lot of Facebook advertising, they do have specific objectives that you can use, and that is how they will kind of tailor how your ads are delivered. So we used the advertising objective of getting more people to your website. That's what we wanted. We wanted to get them there to click and sign up for summer reading. And then we had some, the basic intended message is pretty similar for both audiences, but the graphics and the messaging was slightly different based on what segment we were looking at. And then we went ahead and launched this advertising campaign on Facebook. May went off without a hitch, exactly as planned. We launched our set of ads in June, and then in mid-June, I kind of went back in to see how were they performing. They were performing in mid-June, the ads weren't on track to do as well as they were for May. So we actually did a little bit of graphic and messaging adjustment in the middle of June. Through the end of June. And then in July, I ended up switching over. We were originally going to focus solely on this acquisition group here, but we actually ended up switching all of the funding over to people who like your page and their friends, because those were the ads that were getting the best results in May and in June. So I basically said, okay, hey, if we're going to keep investing this money, let's invest in what is working better. And so we just kind of made a switch and made it happen that way. And I think it ended up being a good choice. This is kind of a little bit of what the ads looked like. You can see over here, I am going to show you what they looked like here in a second. Okay. Just graphically, what I really focused on was short 10-second graphic videos, really highlighting bright colors, making it seem fun, talking about prizes. I always was trying to think, what are parents going to see and want to sign their kids up for? What do they think their kids are going to get excited about for summer reading? Avatar, in my opinion, that's avatars, that's working towards, a prize, stuff like that. So I really focused on those as I was working on these. And then a quick little note here, if you aren't using Canva already, you should definitely check it out and be using it. It's probably likely that most libraries at this point are using Canva, but if not, it is a great tool. They have music and graphics and templates you can use to create really great looking social media ads if you don't have a graphic design person on staff. So the next slide I'm going to do will show I believe 3 of the ads that we put out, just the graphics. Whenever I do, or I'm on a virtual call and they try to show a video, you can never hear the sound. So I'm feeling like that might happen for today. But hopefully we can send out this presentation afterwards so you can listen to the music if you haven't heard these or seen these. But they're just, so if you don't hear the sound, they're just kind of short, fun, spunky little tunes, no lyrics or anything that kind of go with the flow of the graphics. So just quick, I'm gonna let these videos show. Right, there's one. Okay. All right, so just again, really short, quick graphics, bright colors. I like to be able to show kids reading so that parents can kind of see like what, imagining what their kids could be doing and seeing their kids in something, I think is really important. Kind of looking at the experience of something in graphics. So that just gives you a short idea of kind of what those looked like. And then I'm gonna just jump into the results here. So I hope I might be repeating things that you already know, but just in case, I just wanted to go over quickly. Impressions means the total number of times eyeballs have seen your ad, versus reach, which is the number of people. So for instance, in the May ad, 11,804 people saw the ad, probably more than once because it was viewed almost 40,000 times. Just to give some context to that. These results are in averages because we did have so many ads running through different systems and, 2 ads per month. So I thought it was easier to just kind of show this in the average numbers. So some systems saw higher numbers than this and some saw a little lower, since these are the averages. So overall, we did pretty well. If you see here, the average click-through rate across all industries is 0.9%. That is low. And as you'll see, kind of as we go through digital marketing, if it's not something you're used to looking at the results of, a lot of times you're looking at numbers that are like 0.25% or 0.9. Those are the averages, and like the 0.12 click-through rate is great. They seem really low, but that really is what you're going for here. So we went well above the average click-through rate for the Facebook ads, which is really great. Something you'll notice that I will touch on here in a few minutes is that we did see clicks and reach go down. Clicks and click-through rate go down May, June, and July. So while we still saw better than average results, and I'm not necessarily disappointed in that, that is definitely a note that, I noticed this year for summer reading. And so I think there'll be some changes made based on that I'll talk about here in a little bit. But for the most part, really happy with the Facebook ad results. So here are kind of some of the social media takeaways. Make a plan, but be willing to change it. I actually set a date to review the results and make changes. I put it in my calendar, or reminded me, so that I could go and say, okay, hey, what are we looking at here? Don't just set an ad and just kind of let it run and hope for the best and check it at the end. You definitely want to be reviewing, because you can edit an ad, you can make changes in the middle of a campaign. That's the beauty of digital ads, right? Something that I would think about for social media summer reading in the future is to invest the most in May and early June, and maybe little investment in July, if not none in July. I think in terms of awareness and getting people to register and sign up, I think that something I discovered is that there really is, if you're in one city, there really is only a certain amount of people that you can hit. You can kind of saturate that market kind of quickly. So I think really investing in May and June, spending a lot of time on some great ads then, is definitely the way to go for summer reading. Keep graphics fresh. Once I changed the graphics in June, we didn't hit the same numbers that we hit in May, but we still increased significantly from what I was tracking where we were going to end up. So definitely like switching out the graphics so that it looked different from the people who were seeing it again made a difference. And then I do not make social media, in my opinion, don't make social media your only digital marketing effort. There's so much you can do. And it's, social media is great specifically for summer reading because there are a lot of moms still on Facebook, but definitely be looking into some other ways that you can communicate SRP. Something else that, I realized working with the ad pull systems this year is I focus a lot on sign up, register. And, that's kind of where those were the numbers I was really looking at, is participant numbers. Where were we before? Where are we at now? And something that I want to explore next year is how you can use social media to promote summer reading completion rates. So an idea that I have that I just wanted to share for anyone to run with if they're interested is to upload a custom audience to to Facebook and promote completion. So whether that's really promoting the prizes, but really specifically saying, hey, you're almost there, or have you, gotten your free book yet? Find creative ways to promote those prizes and those kind of completion levels. And you can actually, pull a list of your library users and upload it into Facebook, and Facebook is going to find the people that are in your system on Facebook, and they're going to show them that ad. So while you might not be able to necessarily pull exactly who is in SRP, that year, you can still say, okay, I'm going to take, this list of 20,000, card holders, I'm going to upload it into Facebook, and I'm going to target them specifically to with this, completing your SRP minutes message. So that is something I have not tried, but is something that I'm really interested in trying. Basically just ways to be able to utilize social media for more than just signing up for summer reading. So just throwing that out there as an idea. And now I'm going to talk a bit more about some of the other elements that we used for, that we invested in for the ad pool. The display ads, as I'd mentioned before, behavioral and whitelists. So these showed up, throughout the internet and also specifically on news sites. We did a campaign schedule of May 10th through July 17th. We focused specifically on women ages 25 to 54 with kids K through 6th. Zip code targeting was based on where the library was located. And then these were the number of impressions that were given to specifically to the ad pool systems for their investment. And then level 3 only also participated in the search ads, the keyword ads. So again, that's if you're like searching. Unfortunately, I didn't do any screenshots of our summer reading search ads, which I'm really bummed at myself for not doing. So I did kind of a generic screenshot here of what a Google ad or what a search ad looks like. So this is me searching books, and Audible is the first ad that comes up here. And then here are some of the examples of some of the keywords that we invested in this year. I also included in, if you were the library system's name and a couple different versions of how to put in the library system's name for the level 3 participant. So anyways, here are just some examples. Summer reading, read with kids, read 20 AZ, MCLD AZ summer reading, Maricopa County reads, summer library programs, things like that. And then the results for all of these, our display ads I did a range here instead of an average. They range from about 0.152% to 0.231%. I was really looking for at least a 0.2% for these ads. Early on in the campaign, they were performing that, and then they kind of slowed down, and some of those fell below that 0.2. However, our search ads did 24.77%. As you can see here, our search averages are 2.54%. So we went for Maricopa County Library District, and for the system that participated in level 3, we went well above the average in search ads. So it's just incredibly impressive, what happened with the search ads. So I'll get into how we want to utilize that in the future. And then what I will say about the display ads that you can't just see here in the results is that the whitelist ads performed better than the behavioral, just regular behavioral display ads. So the ads that were showing up on news sites performed much better, which if you think about it, that can make sense if you're, looking at Gilbert Sun News online or something, or on your iPad in the morning, our ad is showing up on that paper. So that those just ended up doing better for us, which is interesting. In my past experience with whitelist ads, they always performed a little less well than the behavioral ads. So I thought that was an interesting tidbit and something to think about for the future. Okay, so with the ad pool, we also sent out the email. This is an example of what it looked like. And again, this was sent out by Raising Arizona Kids, but with this content in it. It clicked through to the summer reading site. We targeted to 40,000 homes with families that had families with children present. And the zip codes, again, were based on the library. And these did fairly well. I'm so sorry, that went backwards. There we go. I went backwards there. I was like, that's not the right results. This email did fairly well. I also did ranges for this one. We almost hit kind of the averages. So we were close to where we wanted to be. You want to have a click-through rate of about 2.5 and an open rate of about 15 to 25. not exactly where we want it to be, but it's not necessarily a loss. It does though make me think about how emails work, and if this is the right method in place for those emails is the ad pool. So anyways, I will get into that as we continue. And then for level 3 only, again, we also did the Peach Jar flyers. So we sent the flyers in early May and early June. They go out in an email to parents, but then they also sit on a digital flyer board for 30 days. And again, we did 10 schools per flyer. Peach Jar did really well, not only for the ad pool portion, but MCLD we did a series of Peach Jar flyers for summer reading, and they did extremely well as well. So I don't think this is just a isolated incident. We had open rates of 40 to 38%, which is really great. Now our click-through rate, I think we wanted to be more around this 2.5%, but I still feel really good about the amount of people who are opening and looking at those flyers, which is great. Okay, so then the ad pool learnings, and really some things that I think we're going to shift and think about as we go into next year's ad pool is investing a little bit less on Facebook advertising in June and July. As I had said earlier, I think May and, beginning to middle of June, really putting more money and time behind those ads is going to be more effective. In terms of the digital ads, I think we could either invest a little more to get a little more reach, or shortening the campaign so that you're really putting all of your ducks. I'm not thinking of the right words here. Putting a little more energy into the beginning of the campaign could see a little more higher numbers there. I think that shifting into a few more whitelist ads versus just the regular display ads makes more sense from what we've learned. And then I think more investment into search for all levels is definitely something we're going to be adding in. Instead of just making it a level 3, we're really going to add that search SEM element into the earlier levels, because that did so well for the participating system that worked on level 3, as well as campaigns I've done beyond summer reading, which I'll talk a little bit more about as well. Peachjar has great open rates. But I'm not sure if the emails are worth it for the ad pool investments. So that might be something that I'm removing and thinking about adding something else in, or shifting around into search or whitelist ads, something like that. And then of course, I'm always constantly thinking, are we using the right message? The best thing to do, as I said, is to try something else, see how it goes, and switch it. I think I really enjoy the message of prizes and excitement and all that, but there might be in avatars and the cool things that kids can do in the program itself. But there's also, of course, the elements of spending time together, all of that. So really thinking about what is our messaging, and is there anything we can do that we think could make a stronger ad. So those are that's kind of a big overview of the summer reading ad pool. I did want to talk a little bit more about a few things, kind of tips and tricks of some things that have worked for MCLD that is not SRP related and is more generics promoting library services related. Because hey, let's face it, summer reading is a big thing that we all focus on a lot, but then we have a lot of months in which we are just trying to engage our customers about everything else that we do. That is great. So I just wanted to throw in a few things here. Google Analytics, whether you have a budget for paid advertising or not, you should definitely be using Google Analytics to track how people are coming to your site. Not only is it just good because you can then start putting more time and energy behind those tactics, but you can also, when you do, hopefully, if you ever do get any money to put behind marketing, you can then know and feel confident that if you're putting money behind some of those tactics, it's likely going to bring more people to your site. Results-based decisions, whether you're doing social media and working on your own, or really, if you are working with a vendor who is putting out your digital ads or sending your emails, remember that you can change your investment based on active results in a campaign and your artwork. So if you aren't seeing an ad size doing well, you can send a new graphic over to your vendor and say, hey, can you switch this out? You know, maybe a color makes a difference or a different word makes a difference. And again, same with social media, you can go right in there and change. It might take 24 hours for that change to happen. But definitely be looking at your results, tracking your results, and making decisions based on that. And then search and Google ads. I can't tell you how much I think that is worth the time and energy. You can manage your own search campaign using Google ads. I have done it in the past when I did not have the budget to have somebody working with me and helping me set up and manage those search campaigns. So it is, you know, you can do it. You might have to spend a little bit of time watching some videos and watching some tutorials, but it is pretty user friendly if you have a decent background in technology, and you know, you can figure it out on your own. And then of course, if you have not heard about the Google grant, I have to tell you this. If you all have a 501c3, great. If you don't, your friends groups and you have a friends group, they likely do have a 501c3, then you can work with your friends group to get you set up for a Google grant, which would get you up to $10,000 a month in free Google AdWords. So basically the way Google Ads and search keywords work is you put a bidding budget behind a keyword. So like say you're going to do $2 behind a keyword, and that's how Google then decides how many times your ad is shown when somebody types in that keyword. So if you are able to work with your friends, or you have a 501c3 yourself, you can get $10,000 a month in that bidding money to then set up your keywords and say, you know, bid $1 on this one, bid $2 on this one. It is an incredibly generous thing that Google does, and it is so worth it. $10,000 a month is very, very hard to spend. I have never once, when I was managing my own Google grant, spent $10,000 a month. So it is definitely it's definitely worth the time and energy there to look into that. And then I just wanted to give you an example of some search keywords that worked really well for us recently during a campaign that we were doing, just promoting library services. We're trying, of course, as I'm sure many of you are, trying to re-engage library users to come back now that we are open and have computer access again and are starting in-person programming. You know, we definitely lost active customers during that, you know, during the pandemic. So we're, you know, trying to make some efforts out there. And we did a search keyword campaign. It did incredibly well for us again. We're going to do it again. And I just wanted to kind of give you an idea of some of the of keywords we did. And now I'm realizing that this is just exactly double of what I put over here. So before I send this presentation out to Jesse, I will go back in and fix this side so you can see the other keywords we did. But some other keywords we did is ebooks, free ebooks, audiobooks, things like that. So that when people are typing those in, MCLD came up first. And I'm going to just quickly make a note here so I don't forget to do that before I send this. And then something that you can do, you know, with absolutely no budget at all, is something we did that we called the We Miss You campaign. We sent this out. We pulled a list of our customers from Polaris who were inactive since March of 2020. We created this email in-house we use Constant Contact. I'm not sure what, you know, everyone else uses, but, you know, we just built this email from scratch. And we said, hey, it's been a while since we've seen you. Stop by our library. Here's links to renew your card. Here are different areas, you know, to remind yourself of what we did. And again, I can see here, this says learning twice. It did not say learning twice. So I will fix that as well. We had a different graphic there. This must have been an early one that I pulled when I was working on this. But we kind of have different sections of, hey, remember what you loved about the library. And then we sent this out to that list. It resent to non-openers, I believe a couple days later, and we had the most significant month-to-month jump in active customer numbers than we've had ever in the last couple, basically, I should say in the last few years. So this definitely worked. I think making the effort to reach out to the people who have become inactive since March 2020 is a great idea. This is something we're going to start incorporating regularly, maybe quarterly, maybe twice a year, where we're kind of pulling the list of people that have fallen off the radar and, invite them to come back in. We actually, when we sent this out, we were just incredibly impressed with not only the open rates and the click-through rates, but then once we were able to see that actual jump in numbers, we just knew it was worth it. And it's definitely something that everyone can implement at their libraries if you haven't already done so. Of course, I should also mention, these were all people, we only reach out to people who say we can contact them via email. So anytime you're pulling a customer list and reaching out to somebody, you want to make sure that they have explicitly given you the permission to contact them via email for library notices. So, okay, that is all I have today for my presentation. I of course have time for questions if you have any. I also put my information down here, so if you wanted to talk offline or have questions that come up later, I'm of course more than willing to answer those. I'm going to stop sharing now and see if anyone has questions. I don't. We got a chat here.
Yeah, I definitely have some questions too. So
okay, why don't you get us started?
I'll get us started. If you have a question and you want to be bold and unmute yourself and speak, feel free to do that as well, or you can put it in the chat. So I have a question. I really like this model for advertising for libraries, particularly for resources that are shared, like summer reading program. Mm-hmm. Has there been any talk at Maricopa County? I know there's a few resources that are bought for county libraries, like Freegal and Rocket Languages, I believe. Has there been any talk about doing some sort of ad pool to promote digital resources? So if someone types in streaming music, it would come up with Freegal, or learn a language, and then a Rocket Languages ad would show up.
That has not been talked about, but I am very intrigued by that idea. And hey, that's something I will make a note of and bring up. I think that's a great idea. I think, again, the more that we kind of work together to promote it, we're all going to rise versus, we're not in competition with each other. We're all in this together. So that's a really great idea. Not something I've thought about.
Cool. Yeah, I know.
No, there has not been talk about it yet.
There's a lot of overhead involved in this, and that's always been the challenge, I think, for a lot of libraries, is having the staff time to dedicate to it.
Yeah, and I do, of course, this is my first time working in libraries. I'm going on 2 years, but yeah, I wasn't quite sure what the library marketing landscape was, and there is not only are there, of course, not a ton of dedicated staff that are only doing marketing at libraries. We're very lucky that we have a communication staff over here. There's not a lot of resources out there, I don't think, for talking about what are the best ways to market yourself and all of that. So that's been a really interesting learning curve for me, to think about, how I can take the things I've done in the past and kind of ship them for marketing libraries. So that's really interesting to think about. So great question. Any other questions?
Hello, this is Donna from the State Library.
Donna?
I just really am glad you guys brought Sam onto this. I had reached out to Sam to learn a little bit more about her marketing efforts, because the State Library will be launching a statewide summer reading marketing campaign for this summer. We're working with a marketing firm, and so we're going to have a bunch of resources that other libraries can use to promote summer reading in general across the state. And of course, this is all new to me, so I wanted to get Sam's expertise, and I'm not exactly sure what it's going to look like yet. So the marketing firm is still working on the materials and the plan, and so you will be hearing more about that as we push to get people to go back to the libraries again. So that's an exciting thing we're doing this year.
That's great. I'm really excited about it. I'm excited to help it any way I can for that, Donna, as you know. So
Right, and we want to make sure that we don't overstep messages or confuse people. So if anything comes across as maybe it needs to be tweaked or clarified for people who may be hearing messages from different library systems, please let me know.
great. Yeah, I think that's always that's kind of why we started this ad pool idea in the first place too, is to say, hey, we have so many overlapping messages and things going out. Let's try and make it a kind of, a statewide message or a countywide message. So I think that's going to be really great. I'm excited to see how that goes, Donna. And of course, I will be looping you in as we start next year's planning. So we're all on the same page and no one's stepping on each other's toes. We're all working together. So
well, we're here to support you guys. So definitely do what you need to do, and then we'll try to fill in the gaps.
Perfect. All right.
I did have another question about the ability to do A/B testing with some of these channels, and whether you were able to do that, and or is that being planned in terms of, I saw those were really cool videos you had, like what does one, with the orange background perform better than the purple background and that kind of thing?
Well, I think that's, my dream would be able to have the capacity to do A/B testing for everything. That'd be great. So, I didn't look at that necessarily, like dig too deep of like, did the purple work better than the green? I do know when I switched out graphics in mid-June, I did change the color so that it didn't feel like people were seeing the same message over, and that helped. I have not done I've not done any A/B testing with Facebook before for MCLD or previously. So yeah, I mean, I think it's just having the capacity to be able to get really nitty gritty about it is tough. But, I looked at it a bit more from a 300-degree angle or above angle. I'm really not doing well with my
yeah, the idioms. Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, I have a 4-month-old baby, so don't remember that.
Yeah,
I don't get a lot of sleep right now. So I didn't do a ton of A/B testing with this. If you are working with a vendor to do like your digital ads, I think that is a nice, easier way, because you're not having to do as much, but just making sure you're checking in with your vendor and saying, can I see how each ad is performing, how each actual, because you usually provide about 4 graphics for your ads, the square, the little rectangles, this way rectangle. So if one is performing less than the other, it could just be the size of the ad, sometimes they're really small, but you could switch out and see if that makes a difference and kind of do A/B testing that way. I encourage you to change them out when you can. But yeah, and I know that there are email systems that do A/B testing as well with like subject lines. We have not played with too much of that at this point, but I don't know if I answered your question necessarily.
Yeah, that answers it. Yeah. And then you were mentioning Peach Jar. We had looked at that a while ago, so I wasn't sure what the process currently is in 2021 in terms of setting up a campaign or flyer through Peach Jar.
Yeah. So, I will note this before we get too into it. Not every school district is in Peach Jar. So you'll definitely want to check and see. I believe, anyways, I'm not quite sure. There's a lot of school districts on Peach Jar at this point, but not everyone. Peach Jar is really easy. You set up your account, you kind of like say what industry you're in. And then you, create a PDF flyer. Just like you would if you were going to be printing it in-house. I say, always stick to like 8.5 one page, 8.5 by 11. You can do multiple page flyers. But likely those are probably not going to get viewed as much. And you basically, it's, I believe, $20. I believe it's 20 credits. Oh God, I don't remember the pricing right now off the top of my head, but you purchase credits. And I believe it's like 5 credits to send a flyer to school. As I said, it emails to parents, and you also get 30 days on their digital flyer board.
Mm-hmm.
And ability features, so you can type in, transcribe your flyer, which is great because you definitely want to make sure you can do that. And then you just upload it, and then it sends it to the school. It sends a message to the school that says, hey, this place wants to send a flyer to your parents, and then they look at it and approve it. Districts have various levels of requirements. So I wish I could say you could just upload 1 flyer per school district, but sometimes you have to do different district flyers, because some districts you have to say on there, like, this school district doesn't actually support this. We're just doing this as a, some school districts are just like, have no restrictions, and you can just kind of send it as is. Some districts will only do, like for instance, I believe Tempe, you have to be a Tempe organization to send, flyers. So there are different restrictions. PeachJar is a really great system that you can just click right from their site to the school district's page that talks about what you need to include. Right. So usually when, from a logistical standpoint, when we're designing flyers, we start with a base, and my designer leaves a part at the bottom that I actually then go in and fill in what needs to be in that for that school district. So we do a lot of kind of the heavy legwork up front, and then the little nitty gritty I kind of do right before I upload. So it's a really pretty simple system. I mean, if you think about the amount of time, that you would spend printing and cutting and delivering flyers to schools, it's probably a lot less time to do these little PeachJar efforts. I've done PeachJar for MCLD as well as previously for Child's Play, and I think they perform really well when you're specifically talking about things for, resources for parents. It kind of gives that, it's coming from your school, your student school. Mm-hmm. So it's not coming from, a random email that you get from someone, it's coming directly from someone you trust. So that, I think, helps those numbers and helps that messaging. Those open rates are extremely high on those PeachJar flyers. So, but yeah, you purchase credits, and then you just apply those credits throughout the year. So they're kind of like unending credits. PeachJar does have sales during the year, and they also have sales if you buy in bulk. So if you're able to say, hey, we're going to use this throughout the entire year, you can purchase in bulk, and it's going to be less money per school.
Right. Did you have a question, Peter?
No.
Okay. I know we've experienced the mad dash of printing bookmarks and cutting them and trying to deliver them to schools. And it's like, that's sustainable and worth the effort, because they probably get thrown away, most of them. So, and so the PeachJar component was part of that third option, right? That you guys offered.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
right. And we actually participated at the second level. The reason we didn't do the third level is at the time, there weren't the right number of PeachJar school districts in our area.
Yeah.
But definitely, yes, printing flyers for all the schools is labor intensive. And I'm not sure how effective they are based on the percentage of our SRP signups that occur within library hours of operation. So,
yeah. And I would say, I'm thinking a bit, as I said, my idea is to continue shifting the ad pools so it works better and better every year. And I'm very grateful for Buckeye to be one of my first participants and, really let me figure things out this year. But I've thought a bit about, maybe having optional parts of the levels. So like PeachJar could be an option, or, more whitelist ads or something. For instance, I haven't fully sat down and thought about 2022 summer reading yet, because that is the thing I was figuring out kind of as we were doing PeachJar, like, oh, there might not be enough school districts to be worth that part of the level 3. So that's an interesting thing to think about. And Peter, it is great to see your face because we've talked so many times via email.
Yes, you as well.
So it's great to virtually meet you. And yeah, I will say, I know Buckeye just had an amazing summer reading year. So congrats on that great turnout. And Peter is actually the one, I should credit him, that gave me, the kind of the starting to think about, okay, how do we shift this into also thinking about completion rates and, what are the, let's move beyond maybe just registration and signups and think about how we could be utilizing the ad pool, to be helping promote that as well, because we know how important that is, and sometimes I get stuck in just the numbers of signups, so it's always good to get that feedback.
Cool.
All right.
Anybody have any other questions? Anything you want to throw in the chat, or let us know what maybe you might be doing or have experienced? Well, I don't hear anybody, so I'm assuming no. So I want to thank Sam Mears for presenting for us today. This was really enlightening. I love the idea of pooling, this type of advertising for these shared resources and, efficiently spending government money.
Yeah.
Not running this overhead for every library.
I'm so glad to, if there's any reason I did this today, I think having that idea thrown out is like, I'm so excited about that. I can't believe I've never thought about it, about taking this idea and moving it beyond just summer readings. So that's definitely something I'm going to ponder and think about. Even if it isn't necessarily paid pooling, but how can we help each other and provide resources that we could all utilize and use, whether it is social media. Organic social media is really hard, as we all know. So how can we all help each other in that way? So it's a great idea.
Cool. Well, thank you again. And thank you everybody for coming out. And I am recording this, so I'll try to get the recording up hopefully next week and sent out to the group if you want to review it along with Sam's presentation, and you can share it out with colleagues as well. So thank you everybody for coming. I appreciate it.
And I will say, feel free to, I put my email and my phone number in the presentation. So if you have any follow-up questions or something you want to talk about offline, I'm always happy to chat and talk with anyone. So, all right. Thank you all.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.